Now, we're all very familiar with this one professor that wouldn't stop chasing our asses unless we've done all of the pre-reading. And I hate to say it, I hate to break it to you, that professor's probably right. Pre-reading is one of the things that many students, rogue academics, they really like to disregard pre-reading because intuitively they would think that, hey, pre-reading is just this useless thing. Everything's gonna be in the lecture, so I have to, pay really close attention to the lecture, and I'll be fine. Lectures are packed full of facts and conceptual theories that it's going to be really challenging for you to just walk in there cold without any reference points. Information, roughly speaking, can be split up into two sections. One section, which is the first category, is a category of dry facts. These are the facts, for example, if you're studying history, all the historical facts. These are the facts if you're studying anything else, or literary theory. These are like people's names, titles of books, and then events in history that influenced the writing of a piece of literature. They're kind of like facts from an encyclopedia that you can reference. And then there's the second category of information. And this category of information is what I would like to call the conceptual compartment, or the conceptual category of information. This is the kind of information that brings the entire thing together. This is the kind of information that strings the facts together. This is the kind of information that's going to really help you deeply understand the topic. And the lectures that were delivered, they're full of these two categories of information. And the origins of all crappy note-taking and the origins of all ineffective understanding stemmed from this confusion, or stemmed from this not knowing which piece of information fits into which category. So the notes are going to be rather scattered if one doesn't know which piece of information fits into which category. They're going to confuse conceptual notes with dry facts, so at the end you have this like crisscross of nonsense, and that's really hard to study from. So how exactly do we combat that? How exactly do we combat this crappy feeling of the lectures moving too fast and I could barely keep up and all my notes, they don't make any sense? And here's the importance of an initial inspectional reading. This is a concept from Mortimer J. Adler from his book, How to Read a Book, which I've taken to heart. He basically suggested that before you dive really deep into a book, you have to have these like signposts, these like intellectual signposts, which maps out the entire structure of the book. And once you have the structure, you can then dive really deeply into the propositions, into the facts, into the theories, and see how they relate to this overall framework that you've constructed. It's really the same with university lectures, and it's really the same with the subject that you're trying to study. Before the lecture, having an inspectional overview, a skeletal inspection overview of the entire unit or of the subjects that were covered in that specific lecture, it's really helpful because with the overarching skeleton, you are going to get really good at discerning which part of the lecture is presenting dry facts and which parts of the lecture are presenting overarching conceptual notes. And as you put the two together, your notes are going to have so much more clarity, so much more structure, and so much more understanding behind it. It's going to be really easy to study from because you've got the overarching structure. And then throughout the lecture, you're trying to fill in the holes. Throughout the lecture, you're trying to bring up new questions. You're trying to bring up new mental connections. Facts are no longer just dry facts. They fit under certain conceptual frameworks. They fit under your initial framework that you found throughout your inspectional reading, and by fitting this entire thing together, that's really how you derive deeper meaning and deeper value out of a really great lecture. That's one of the things that I've been doing with my literature class. We were assigned this book, Genre, by John Frau, which is just one beautiful read. And right now I'm going through this process of getting a really brief overview of what this unit is all about, getting a really brief, taste, the entire structure of how this subject will be taught. I make little notes for myself, I come up with certain questions, so when I actually go into the lecture, I have this framework to work with. I have this overarching skeleton, so to speak, that I can work with to attach facts to, theories to, and to attach criticism to. And that makes it really easy for me to then take notes in lectures, and to take notes from my readings, and to take notes from new information that's coming my way from the professors, and from discussions, and from tutorials, and whatnot. So yeah, to combat the really fast-paced lectures, you have to have a skeleton laid out in your head before you rush into a lecture completely cold. And the skeleton doesn't have to take that long to develop. It's probably going to take you 20 minutes to get a rough sense of what the subject is all about before you rush into the lecture. 20 minutes versus The Great Return. I think I can sacrifice 20 minutes and, get the great return from my notes. Now, that's all I have for this week. It's a little bit different. You know, we're talking about some harder stuff. We're talking about some academic reading. I'm talking about some university tips now. And expect more of these episodes to come because currently I'm in the process of developing a Skillshare course that sort of compiles all the strategies for effective reading, effective fiction reading, and nonfiction reading. I'm trying to compile everything that I've done, everything that I talked about in my previous videos regarding reading. I'm trying to compile everything together, and I'm trying to film this course and trying to bring it out to you guys. I think it's a really exciting project, and that's one of the projects out of many other projects that I brainstormed that I'm really excited to work on. Anyway, thank you for watching, and be sure to sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter has a new design, and it's going to look absolutely gorgeous. It's going to be better than the previous issues. Issue number 5 is going to have a brand new design, so it's going to be quite a surprise for those subscribers to the newsletter. Have a great week, and I'll catch you guys next time.